And we're back, and we're joined now. I'm Dennis Bernstein with Randy Credico of Live on the Fly, coming out of New York City, and we're joined by Christine Assange. Let's just say she's somewhere in very far away in Australia. Christine Assange, it is good to have you back again. Randy and I were hoping that this would be the occasion in which we would be celebrating and we'd have Julian on the other line, but that's not happening. You want to bring us up to speed as much as you know about where the situation is now and the kinds of details you think would help us to understand what's going on? And welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Randy, for having me, and thank you for being good journalists and getting all this stuff out to the people. And to thank you to John Pilger, who's always great to listen to about the truth, and a wonderful supporter of Julian, a courageous investigative journalist. It's been noted that the courageous investigative journalists around the world are standing up for Julian. And like he said, the propaganda media, the fake news, are the ones pumping out the smear. Now, John mentioned that we're at a critical stage, possibly pre-war with Russia, because of the propaganda lately around the Skripal poisoning in the UK, which has since been found not to be conclusively related to Russia, and all the diplomats being dispelled. Now, I would say we're also at a critical stage for Julian's safety and freedom. They're coming together and they are co-related. For example, just before Julian's complete communications with the outside world were cut off, the day before, one of the Lords in the UK Parliament stated, "Isn't it about time we took some action against the Ecuador embassy?" That he wasn't happy about Assange tweeting about the government response to the attack in Salisbury. Now, Julian was merely tweeting facts, and of course, because Julian is known as a journalist who bravely tweets facts, that is very threatening. Truth is very threatening to corrupt power. And the next day, his communications are cut off. And as I said, since then, what he said, his doubts about what the UK government narrative was have come to fruition, and the lab in Porton Downs has categorically stated there is no evidence to connect Russia with that Skripal attack. At the same time, what was happening at the same time is Julian was also invited to give evidence on Cambridge Analytica and Facebook. And the Facebook shares were down 20%. NASDAQ was down 3 to 5%, affecting the whole US market, the global market. So is it coincidence that also not only is he tweeting about the truth of the Skripal poisoning, but at the same time he's about to give evidence? And Cambridge Analytica, of course, has been tied into all sorts of dirty plays around trying to defame politicians. At the same time, we've got major delegations from the US military and economic agencies going into Ecuador. And we've got no doubt whatsoever there's an incredible pressure on Ecuador to hand Julian over to the US. We know this because during the presidency of Rafael Correa, who gave Julian political asylum from US threats against his life and liberty, that it was revealed by the former US Ambassador Craig Murray, UK Ambassador Craig Murray, that the mainly Pentagon funds of up to $87 million are being used to try and bring down Rafael Correa, which has now happened. He had to leave the party because he'd done his term, but now there's pressure on the new president, Lina Moreno. And as far as although we were sort of hopeful with prior to Trump getting in, with his We Love WikiLeaks, because WikiLeaks was publishing the truth about the corruption coming from the DNC and Hillary Clinton of "Can't we dethrone Assange?" But by April 2017, the US was firmly in a position of wanting to go after Julian. They were all on side. Mike Pompeo, April 13th. WikiLeaks is a non-state hostile intelligence service. He also says Julian Assange has no First Amendment freedoms. He is not a US citizen. Now, he's been promoted from the CIA to the Secretary of State, Jeff Sessions, around the same time, April. It's a priority to arrest Assange once and for all. You've got John Bolton, who has just been appointed National Security Advisor, who on March 8, 2017 suggests that the US government should launch a cyber war attack against WikiLeaks for revealing Clinton emails and the CIA hacking scandals. And looking back, President Trump in 2010 commented on WikiLeaks exposés. I think it's disgraceful. There should be like a death penalty or something. So there is no doubt that what is actually happening is that the US wants to shut Julian up. They want to shut him up about corruption, that their allies are cooperating, and that everybody is leaning on Ecuador.
Wow. That is the voice of Christine Assange. She's the mother of Julian Assange. She's a longtime activist. Now she's active in...
I'll just correct you with that one, Dennis.
Yes, please.
I'm not a long-time activist. Yes, I'm an accidental activist. That's an activist. With a growing role in battling for your son's freedom as things intensify, and you have taken on that role and done an amazing job. And I think those of us who believe in journalism and the free flow of information really can appreciate your struggle and want to know as much about it as we can. I mean, it is no surprise to Randy and I that there would be every move made to shut down Julian Assange right now in the context of what's going on with the Salisbury scandal and the way in which the Clinton machine has fanned this Russiagate flame, and that crew really willing to risk World War III to prove that Hillary Clinton didn't lose the campaign because she was a horrifying candidate. Yes, well, also Julian was also very bravely, as a good journalist should, reporting factually on what was going on in Catalonia, which was absolutely disgraceful. I mean, you don't have to support either side, Spain or Catalonia, to be against the brutal crackdown of their democratic rights. And according to Ecuador, the reason they gave for cutting off all his communications, that's internet, phone and visitor access, because of one tweet, which was actually a factual tweet about the political prisoner, the elected president of Catalonia. Now, he had previously been reporting factually where a lot of the world's media had taken the side of Spain, the word fascism is loosely used. I'm not happy with the way it's being used. It's used against everybody, but I think that we can say that the Spanish oppression of Catalonia can be seen as nothing more than the classical term of fascism, and that should be resisted worldwide in any country. And leaders of supposed free democracy should be standing up against this abuse.
I know Randy is dying to jump in here. Randy?
And good morning. I know it's morning where you are, wherever you are, Christine. It's Randy Credico here. You were talking about Catalonia, the arrest by Germany of President Puigdemont of Catalonia, and Julian Assange did tweet something out. He was talking about that again, and the Germans listened. Today they released Puigdemont, and they will not extradite him to Spain. And so he does have an effect. Thousands of people were protesting in Germany because of the arrest of Puigdemont, and they were embarrassed. And so this is the kind of journalism that they don't like. So I don't know if it's... Here are three things that happened. That happened, that tweet. Also, he started talking about Salisbury. Dennis and I had Craig Murray on the show 2 weeks ago, and he was way ahead of his time on this. And Julian was talking about this, and then this guy, House of Lords, Sir Alan Duncan, comes out and says some nasty things and said he should be shut out. And so these things all happened within days, and then they cut him off. What is the connection there?
The connection is power, isn't it? They're aligned. Power aligns. I mean, let's not mince words here. The struggle for freedom throughout the world in every country, for all of our ancestors, has been the struggle of people against corrupt power. That's what it is. And we're at a point now where we need the people power. I like a quote from 1984, George Orwell, that if there's any hope, it lies in the proles. That's us. That's the ordinary people. And throughout history, it's not been, generally speaking, it's not the leaders of our countries that actually ensure our rights. It's usually the leaders of the country that are preventing our rights and entrenching power. It's the people who stand up to the leaders, particularly in democracies where they can have some sort of a voice, and demand that their leaders act in their interests. And I think with this critical point in history, again, we're always again defending liberty. It's a constant battle. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, as one of the US ministers, I think, said, US president said. We're at this pivotal point in history, as John has said, where we're facing a possible global war and at the same time a war on journalism, because obviously they don't want truthful journalism coming out and stopping any attempts at a nice, lucrative war for defence contractors. So I think we have to now step it up. The people have to step it up, because while we must sign these petitions. There are 3 that have gone to the President of Ecuador. One was actually delivered by...
John Prialco.
Delivered by a group of ex-CIA, NSA, FBI officers supporting Julian. Another one was world leading thinkers, and we've got one started by the Landless Workers Movement in Brazil, which is a people-initiated 33 countries in the Spanish language to live it. Now, those are important to sign those petitions, very important, all right? But it's also important to get involved in actions. And straight after Julian was silenced, supporters all around the world, I don't know if you've covered this yet today because I couldn't listen in, but with a 10-hour vigil, an internet vigil under the Reconnect Julian hashtag, where truthful investigative journalists worldwide and people, free speech, human rights people, ordinary people, all joined together to put worldwide pressure to stop the US leaning on Ecuador to silence Julian.
Is that still going?
Now,
is that still on?
Well, yes, that's right. Well,
it resumes this week. It's an online vigil that resumes this week. I know that Susie Dawson is spearheading that, and I'm going to participate in that 48-hour online vigil coming this weekend. Last time you were on, Christine, you said to me and Dennis that we need WikiLeaks warriors, not WikiLeaks warriors. So how does that hardcore following of his maintain being warriors at this point?
Good question. All right, well, that vigil brought together various people from all around the world who'd individually been speaking up and supporting and defending Julian. They are now, and we're all now working together in a network to get up a global network for people, for the ordinary citizens who haven't yet been involved but are concerned for Julian's welfare and safety, to quickly access Assange actions. And we've got up one, at the moment, just one Twitter handle, Assange Action, which will be mirrored in countries around the world. The Reconnect Julian hashtag and Unify for JA hashtag are also good inroads to where you can make contacts right now. But we will be building on this, and we need to take it to the streets. In the same way that any change happens in a country, it's the people going onto the streets telling their leaders that they're not going to vote for them if they continue down this path of suppressing the media, suppressing the people's right to the truth, abusing human rights of award-winning investigative journalists who give us the truth. Now, a good example of on-the-street actions are the historic long-term vigil outside the Ecuadorian embassy by UK citizens. It's been going for years, for nearly 6 years, rain, hail and snow. And people can visit that at any time they want. If you're in London, 3 Hands Crescent, London, the Knightsbridge train on the Piccadilly line, just get out there, stand outside the Ecuadorian embassy with your placard, and there's official vigils that 4 times a week under the hashtag at JA_defence. It's next to Harrods. That is something you can do that's already set up, okay? If you're in Australia, follow Assange, support Assange and WikiLeaks Coalition. The handle is at SAWC SID, SYD, or Sydney, I can't remember, it's SYD anyway. It's Support Assange and WikiLeaks Coalition. That's already been up for years. Now, the thing is here, Andy, that there was a lot of activity worldwide in defence of Julian and actions prior to him going into the Ecuadorian embassy, because he was at imminent risk of extradition to the US via Sweden through their backdoor treaty of temporary surrender. And we're very grateful to Ecuador. Ecuador stepped up when none of the others would. They showed sovereignty, principles, ethics and courage in protecting Julian from the US. And this went on, for several years. They were pressuring Ecuador, but they stood strong. Now, with the change of leadership and problem in the government, the split in the party, they're now coming under extreme pressure, and the Ecuadorian government appears to be wavering. This is critically dangerous for Julian. And because this has happened, now people around the world who are feeling, okay, well, he's safe, are now galvanising and organising actions.
30 seconds.
Yes. We have an outgoing message to
30 seconds.
President Lyndon Moreno. In 30 seconds, what is your message to him?
Stand up for the sovereignty of your country. You've got a wonderful country, a fabulous constitution. It's a template for a world democracy throughout the world. Don't let down Ecuador. Don't let down Julian. Don't let down free press. Your constitution backs free press. Stand strong. The people will stand with you. Be remembered for the president who carried on the democracy in Ecuador, who stood strong and tall and didn't cave. You will be remembered for this. Don't be remembered for the president who rolled over for yet another US coup of a South American country.
Perfect. We thank you, Christine Assange, Randy Credico in New York. I'm Dennis Bernstein. That wraps it up for another edition of important collaboration between Flashpoints and Live on the Fly with Randy Credico. Please stay tuned to Pacifica.
And that wraps it up for another edition of Flashpoints. Our executive producer is Dennis Bernstein. Our roving producer and producer of Flashpoints in Espanol is Miguel Gavilan Molina. Our technical director is Mike Biggs. For more information about the show, to listen to or download archived episodes, log on to flashpoints.net or visit our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/flashpoints. For questions or comments about Flashpoints, you can contact Dennis at dennisjbernstein@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.